Our Way Home, sharing stories of homeownership, the journey into buying a home, whether it's your first, your second, your third, whatever it is. Today we have a special guest, Landon Jones. We actually went to school together, Rowan University.
Yes.
Almost, how long ago is that? 10?
We don't have to talk about all that.
Okay,
Yeah.
more than 10 years,
It's
but
been a minute. Yeah.
it's a long time. Uh,
Yeah.
but anyway, it's cool. It's cool to see people like doing what they find, where they fall into after college, especially our field. Like
Yeah.
it's creative, video, radio, like these creative services type things. There's so many places we can go,
Yeah.
and so we end up in the random places we end up in, which is interesting.
And some of us don't go too far, like you and I.
Exactly.
Stay in the area.
Yeah, exactly. It's true, but all different career paths and different
Sure.
companies and different businesses and whatnot.
For sure.
So, all right, as people join on here, of course, I always say questions you have, whether you're watching this now live or on replay, put your questions in the comments, or if you feel nervous, just send us a DM with questions you have for either myself or Landon about his home purchase. So, you bought your first house, right?
Yeah. Yep.
First house in Mount Laurel. I used to live there too.
Hey,
Love Mount Laurel, New Jersey. May of 2019. So this was, wow, pre-COVID. A lot of people I talk to are like bought like right after COVID or like in the crazy rate environment where it was like super low rates. So this is good perspective to share with people, that it's possible to buy a house even when rates are not in the twos or threes.
right. Right.
Do you remember what your mortgage rate was?
I do. I I bought the house in April of 2019, and it, again, first home purchase, so a lot of just questions galore for my realtor, for um my finance specialist. Like, I had so many questions. um and the interest rate at the time was 4.3, I believe.
Nice.
So not great, but not horrible either. And then, as you know, the next year was just chaotic and has been ever since. So
Did it make sense for you to take advantage of refinancing? Did anyone ever have a conversation with you?
so I looked into it. I want to say in 2021, but it
Yeah.
wasn't enough to make me jump. Um,
Okay.
it would have saved me maybe $150 by the end of the year, and I'm like, that's, for
Wait,
me
not
personally,
per month. Like,
no. That's what
oh,
I like. It just was not worth. And granted, I only looked in one place, and I was like, we're not doing that. It's not really worth it to me. To me,
yeah, that's good. And honestly, people ask that now with rates being in the six, sevens. People are like, if I just bought a house at 7% interest rate, when is time for me to refinance? And it's not like an answer I can give. It's like it's when it makes sense for you.
right?
You have enough equity in the home to use, to cover any fees. Is it going to drop your monthly payment significant for you? You have to decide.
And at that time, I didn't have that much equity in the house yet. And for what they were asking to refinance for the down payment, I just wasn't willing to put that out there. And
Right.
for only saving $150 a year, that's, to me, I might as well just keep doing what I'm doing and
Yeah.
save my
Yeah.
money instead of dropping a another down payment. And I've only
Well,
been.
just to be not down payment, but like title fees. There's title fees,
Yes.
a record or like recording fees again to
Yep.
like, because you're basically taking out a new mortgage.
Right.
So, but your down payment that you originally put, if it was like 3% or whatever, that's all you own of the house, 3%.
Yep.
It's not a lot. It's not a lot. When
Nope.
over time though, you pay down your
Yeah.
principal, and that increases bigger, bigger, bigger. You start to own more percentage of the house
Right.
and not the bank.
So like right now I can afford my dining room, you know?
Right, right, right. Exactly. It's like I actually really only own like this
Yeah. This
couches.
piece of wood right here, that's mine.
It's kind of crazy when you think about it, but over the years, like it's awesome to see how you just chip away at that equity every month, and year over year. Whereas with renting, you never chipping away at anything. So that's cool
Right.
to see.
Right.
All right. So how did you go about finding and choosing the realtor that you worked with?
Sure. So I started just doing some research online, seeing who was out there, that kind of thing. Mine was kind of a by default situation. My parents recommended the realtors that they had used when they bought their house that I grew up in. And it's Patty Denny and Holly Denny. They're part of the Remax organization, and they were phenomenal. They provided me with everything that I had asked for. I'm like, I want a space that is, I don't want to use the term move in ready, but close to, if that makes sense. I want something that I can still kind of tinker around with and make my own. But I also don't want to go into something that needs a lot of work. And they narrowed down my options. I told them the locations that I was looking at, and they were great. They were constantly in contact with me, to the point sometimes where I was like, I need to get back to you on this. I got some other stuff going on right now. I'll get back to you guys. So they were great. They were very much a no pressure realtor, and they kept reassuring me that you have to be happy with your decision, both financially and where you're actually living. So you have to be happy with the house. You have to be happy with the area. Like there's so many other factors when it comes to, especially as a first time buyer, that, things I didn't think about, like HOA fees or, yeah, just what I can and cannot do based off of where I'm living or what's available in my community, let alone my township. So they were very helpful in that regard. So I got pretty lucky in the sense of like my parents recommending them, and it worked out. I think the whole process from start to finish was just under a year
Mm,
by the time everything was said and done.
very nice. That's pretty typical. Like you start kind of looking at homes. Do you remember when you looked into the finances? Was it like right away so you knew what you could afford? Was it in the middle of that year? Like
So this is a good question. I was kind of I don't want to say I was careless, but I knew what my ceiling was, if that made sense. And I was like, well, as long as I'm under this number. So naturally, like they're gonna steer me toward the higher end. So really when the finances came into play, we were probably I had narrowed down three different places. I was pretty set on like a townhome style. I didn't really want a big yard for at that time. Like I was working like three jobs. Like I was just never home. So if I'm gonna buy something, you know,
you don't
I
want to have so much to take care of
exactly.
outside.
So yeah, it kind of finances started to come into play. I would say probably right around when I had those three places picked out, and I would start to really kind of nickel and dime what my budget would be like. Okay, what's the average water bill for a single person home in this area? Who's the electric company out here? And then that way I could get some sort of estimate of what my total
Oh,
bills
you
would
went
be.
all in.
Oh yeah, yeah. I literally was very particular about. I need to make sure that I'm going to be able to afford this now. And then, God forbid, if something happens with the job down the road
Right.
and I either get laid off or, things happen, like I need
Yes.
to make sure that I can afford it. So that's when they turned me over to um, the financial group that we worked with, who's, I don't think they're in business anymore, or they changed their name. I think they changed their name. But they were great. I would ask for, what does it look like if I put this much down? What does it look like if I put 5% down? What will my payments look like with this versus that? So the closer we got to making an offer was really when I started to kind of look at the numbers and be like, okay. And honestly, that's what determined the place that I got. So
Okay.
yeah, yep.
Yeah, because you even took it a step further. Like you're A plus first time home buyer, because a lot of times people don't even have a wrangle their own budget, so they
Right,
don't even know what they can be comfortable paying, let alone focusing on the utility bills, because that's not
right,
something that you're discussing with the mortgage advisor. Like they're not telling you what you're going to pay in utility bills. They're just telling you principal, interest of the loan,
right,
property taxes, homeowners insurance.
right. And
So,
sometimes,
great.
that's unpredictable at times of what it's going to be. But now that I've been here for 5 years, like I'm pretty creature of habit, pretty steady, and I can tell you, normally what my monthly payment is. So,
That's
uh,
great.
I just wanted to be as prepared as possible, and I felt like I had the resources at my hands between my realtors and the finance group that they were really willing to help. They kept reassuring me like it's a huge decision and you're the one that needs to be comfortable and happy with it, not us. Like at the end of the day, it's not us, it's you. So
Right. That's
yeah.
awesome. Great that you went like back and forth and made sure you were confident before putting the offer in, because the last thing you want to do is say, "Oh, I didn't know it was going to cost that much," or "I didn't know my monthly payment was going to be this," and you're already like in love with the house, because
Yep.
it's a very emotional decision looking at the physical house. And people always think about the number, like the number, the price of the house, but they don't consider, what am I going to be paying every month
Right.
when they look into it. So it's like, okay, your payment's going to be $3,500 a month. Is this house worth it to you for $3,500 a month payment? Oh no, I
Right.
really want it to be at $3,000 a month payment. Okay, I guess the house, like you can decide then, is the house worth it or not, based
And
on.
that's and to me that was a big point for me was, for, let's say, maybe a newly married couple that's trying to buy their first home. Okay, you have two incomes. Ideally, you have two incomes at the least coming in. So for someone that was coming in with a single income, like single person,
Yeah.
that extra $500 that you just threw out, that's a big deal to me. Where
Yes.
maybe with a married couple, not so much. Like, okay,
Yes.
yeah,
They have some more flexibility.
right,
So it's like, and actually, yeah, that's a good point to bring up for people. You probably, if you remember, you got pre-approved at a certain number,
yep,
but was it the actual number that you ultimately purchased at? Most likely not.
nope. They're like, this is what you can afford if you don't buy anything ever.
Exactly.
Yeah,
You have no subscriptions. You don't go
yeah,
shopping ever. You don't do this, because it's based on your gross
right,
income, not your net, which is such a huge difference.
yep,
You might have, well, first of all, you have taxes. You most likely have taxes being taken out of your paychecks every week or every other
oh,
week.
yeah, yep,
You might have a 401k, you might have health insurance benefits all this being taken out of your checks. That's the net amount that you receive in your bank. But when you get qualified for a mortgage, it's using your gross income.
yep,
So
yep. And I was like, cool. So you're telling me I can't even go food shopping? And they're like,
yeah,
yeah, essentially, yeah.
yeah. I remember the first time I went through and I was like, I think I was probably pre-approved up to, if I guess I got pre-approved. I can't remember, so many years ago. But this one realtor was showing me condos for like 250,000, and I remember like doing the calculators online and seeing like what was that monthly payment, and I was like, I can't afford this. I ended up buying a condo for 120,000
Okay.
versus 250. Like that's a big difference.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure like I could have afforded somewhere in between, but yeah, I always tell people, I'm like, you're going to get pre-approved. It's going to be a high number, and then we're going to dial it back till you're comfortable with that monthly payment number.
And I think I know for me, I got really excited when I got pre-approved because you get so caught up, and it could just be me, but I got so excited and caught up that I was like, ooh, maybe I can look at bigger places or something that's a little more attractive. And then I was humbled very quickly, and they're like, hang on.
Yeah. And you're like, oh, that doesn't fit in my budget real good. Like, I don't want to change my lifestyle entirely. That's the thing. You want to keep it. Yeah. So that is something that always comes up with people. So you're not the only one. What was one of the more difficult parts of the process for you?
I think so. I had all my closing costs paid for. So there were some things with the house that I wasn't too thrilled about. So this was built in 91 and it still had all the original windows. And I was like,
that's old.
That's as old as I am, and the seals are coming off. So, I think that just the negotiating part of that was probably the toughest. Look, here's what's wrong with the house. They had rented this out before, so the owners that were selling it, they weren't living here, so they were just renting it out. And we know what happens when people rent. Like, it's fine, do what you got to do, but if I'm going to live here and I'm not renting this out, then some of this stuff needs to be addressed. And so that was probably the hardest part. And then I wasn't anticipating all of the extra procedures that you go through. So like having the appraiser come out and how much that's going to cost you just for them to walk around for 15 minutes and that kind of. Yeah. So it was all those kind of little things that kind of get, I don't want to say overseen, but they're a big deal, but they're not the top of the priority list.
Yep.
Until they are, if that makes sense.
That's right. And then like, yeah, even understanding just what your total closing costs are.
Yeah.
What things you have to pay for right away versus like later on. And then that, people don't understand a lot of times, like, even though, okay, you might be paying $700 for the appraiser to go out, but then that's deducted at the end from your total money. But it's like, you do have to pay them up front just to go out for 20 minutes, take some pictures, do the appraisal of the property. Like,
and that's like, I can't stress enough of having just a good, a good financing organization behind you. Because if they're really good, they'll guide you through all that stuff and tell you, and your realtor at times too, they'll tell you exactly, nope, this is what's going to happen. This is what we need right now. Don't worry about this for now. That'll come later. So I'm super thankful and grateful that I was able to work with the team that I did, because the process was a lot easier than I anticipated. Still difficult, but it went very smoothly compared to some of the other stories I hear.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, and honestly, it's like overwhelming at first. You don't know, but as you go, you start to like learn, and it's overwhelming because you're learning a lot of new information, but also like it can still go smooth while still being a little bit overwhelming.
Right.
Yeah, like all these emotions, excitement, nervous.
Like when someone says escrow and you're like, what is that?
Yes. Do you know what it is now?
Sure. No. Still don't know.
No idea?
I have a genuine idea, but it's still like there's still times where I'm like, when we go talk financing, like or refinancing, and those, sometimes they get a little carried away, and I'm like, hey, bring it back here.
Yes, that's a great point too. Someone said that to me before on one of these interviews. They said when I was the first time buyer, I made sure to preface every conversation I had with anybody, whether it was email, phone call, text, like, I am first time doing this. Please explain to me like I'm a child.
Right. Don't know what any of this means.
Yeah, please explain to me. And on the flip side, as a professional on the other side, I always tell people there's never a stupid question, because
Right.
people, they feel like they should know something. And so when I get on the phone, they say, I'm sure this is such a dumb question, but, and I'm like, no, it's not.
Right.
It's actually a great question, and you should be proud of yourself for asking it.
Because I feel like a lot of, you see it every day, where most people see it, let's say on average every 15 years.
Yes.
So, yeah.
It's not something they should know, would know, should know, all that stuff.
Right.
Just to wrap it up, so escrow,
Sure.
it's just like the third party account that holds your money.
Right.
And then they distribute out of it to pay for your property taxes and your homeowner's insurance.
Okay. See?
Yeah.
Still learning. See?
So every month you pay for your mortgage,
Yep.
assuming you have an escrow account. It is possible you can waive it, but assuming you have it, which most mortgages do, like 90%, so you make your mortgage payment every month. Out of that mortgage payment, they take a little piece for your property tax and for your homeowner's insurance. They put it away into the escrow account. Whenever your taxes are due, and you'll get emails that say like, hello, Mr. Jones, by the way, we're paying your taxes.
3 weeks ago. Yeah.
Yes, me too. It's like, here you go. We're paying your taxes, $3,000, whatever it is.
Yep.
And they just pay off your taxes. Same with homeowners insurance. They just pay it every year. You can still adjust your policy. Like, let's say, oh, I'm going to get new homeowners insurance, actually way cheaper over here. You can adjust it and they'll just readjust on their end.
Okay.
So it's not like you have to be stuck with your policy too for forever.
See, constantly learning new things. I like it.
Yes.
I like
Awesome.
it.
Okay. So you kind of touched on this, but were there like fees that you didn't expect as you had the first conversations with finance, with mortgage? Like, were you like, oh, whoa, I wasn't expecting that going into buying a house?
None that stick out off the top of my head, but I do remember sitting at the signing table and leaning over. The guy's name was Ed. He retired, but I leaned over to Ed and I was like, "Hey, man, what is this? Where did this come from?" So I can't recall who he was off the top of my head, but there were definitely moments, especially on signing day, where I was like, where did all these extra numbers come from? This was not discussed.
Right.
And they're like, don't worry
there.
about it. Yeah. So, and everything worked out. So, but it just, it can be a little daunting and a little scary because, you think you have a handle on it, and then you go to sit down and sign and you're like, well, wait a second. What are all these extra numbers in here that I have never seen before? And, I really wish I could remember what it was off the top of my head. But to answer your question, yes, there was. Some extracurricular fees where I'm like,
maybe it was like prepaid. Maybe it was the escrow stuff and
it very well could have been.
Yeah. Okay. Also, your rate is going to change. Like from the time you get pre-approved,
right?
The market and the rates are changing every minute of the day, every minute. Yep. So from the time you get pre-approved and 6 months go by and now it's like, okay, you're finally under contract. That's when you lock the interest rate, not at the time of pre-approval.
Right.
So once you find that house, now you got to lock in a rate. It could be a totally different rate. It could just be costing a little bit more or less. Right. So those like fees will change and everything from initial estimates all the way until like you actually go under contract. So you said it took about a year total timeline, like from the time you started to go look at homes, got pre-approved somewhere in the middle, and then finally found the house?
Yeah.
And did you have like a lease at the time that was coming up? You were like timing that?
No.
Rent free. Rent free.
So I was actually living out in PA, near King of Prussia, and I was renting out there. I I got laid off from my job out there, and
Mm,
I broke the lease off, and then I moved back home for a year at my parents' house to
nice.
find another job, save up, all that, all the fun stuff. Um, so while all that was going on, I was contemplating, kind of next moves, and did I want to keep renting? And just every year the rates just keep going up for rent, and I'm like, you're telling me that I can have twice the space and upstairs for significantly less than I would pay renting. Granted, if anything goes wrong, it's on you, but
True. But how much does it really, like, people get always nervous about that. I'm like,
exactly,
there's like so many like, first of all, it doesn't happen that often. When it does happen, there's people in your life you can call.
for sure,
Yes, is it a little bit of a headache for like a hot minute?
for sure.
Sure. But what is not in life? And then the other thing is like, just hire somebody to do it. The
Yep.
money that you are squirreling away, like, what is the word I'm looking for? It's required, like
Right,
involuntarily, you are squirreling away this money into the equity of your home.
right,
You're building your net worth, your wealth. Now you can afford to just hire somebody to fix your oven when you need it, broke or whatever.
right.
Because when you're renting, the money is just going out the window. You got no money saved away,
No.
in any asset. So you wouldn't want of course they're gonna come fix your oven for you, but how's your net worth growing? It's not.
And I feel like a lot of apartment places now, you know, kind of back when we were in college, like you used to hear a lot about, oh, utilities included. Oh, this is included. That's included. Now they're like, yeah, no, everything is on its own. And um, I that was honestly a huge part for me where I'm like, well, why am I going to spend all this extra cash in rent plus utilities on top of that when I can go live in a house twice the size of this apartment and pay half of what they're asking? So it's, yeah, I don't regret this decision for a second, even being in the tougher position that I was in with not having a full-time job right away and after getting laid off like that. It was the smart move, still is the smart move, because like you said, how often do things actually go that wrong? I mean, I might have had to buy a new air conditioner this past summer. That's besides the point. But
That's kind of rough, but honestly, it's like growth in life.
yes.
It's owning homes has taught me so much experience.
Oh, yeah.
It's given me so much experience, and it's so rewarding to be able to learn and figure those things out. Like, if we're not growing and evolving, like, what are we doing?
Right.
Life.
Right.
So I like that. And there's also like homeowners insurance. They
The
will,
beautiful thing.
yeah, you got to pay it anyway.
Yep.
So, I learned the importance of it the hard way when I had the full flooding in my condo, all new floors.
Listen.
And did I pay any money for it? No. I mean, technically, yes, I had
Yeah.
paid into the homeowners insurance for like 4 years, 5 years. But it's not that much in the grand scheme of things. It was like $8,000 that they paid out for replacing the floors.
Not bad at all.
So pretty cool.
We had the same issue. February of 2022. Same thing. Floors flooded. Had to get brand new floors. Yeah. The joys of homeownership.
Yeah, the joys. But now if that happened when you were renting, like, it would still be a pain.
Oh
You
yeah.
would still have to like fix
And the
them.
process probably would have taken twice as long.
Yes, because you can't just act quick on it. It's like you
Yep.
got to go through the maintenance thing and the manager and the landlord and the and They're
Yep.
not going to care as much about it because it's just a rental property. Like it's
That floor tore up that night. I was like, nope, we're not.
excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, I love it. Awesome. Okay, so in this year, you're looking at homes, you're getting pre-approved. How did you know when it was time to make an offer? Like, how did you know in that moment that it was the right decision?
I think just financially, things had been moving along well. The appraisal had gone through. It was a good number. The numbers were good.
Wait, that's not before you make the offer.
No. I misspoke.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So when I say for me, the finances were good. I had just gotten hired again. Like income was coming in. Um, the estimates of what I was going to put down versus being pre-approved, that whole process, when I saw the number that worked for me, that was okay. I think we're going to go ahead and put in an offer. And we got into a small, very small, I wouldn't even call it a bidding war, but just a little back and forth. And then finally they were like, yeah, okay, we'll take it. And like I said, paid all my closing costs, even threw in some extra cash for upstairs windows. So the downstairs were on me, which I thought that was fair. I'm like, okay, that's fine. So, yeah, I mean, when that offer was there on their end too, especially for me, that was pretty much the big deal. If they're going to pay the closing costs, I'm right here.
That's amazing. And you just had to put 3% down.
Yep.
Okay. So this was just seller assist that you got.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. Amazing. So do you remember how long it had been on the market? Was it on the market for a long time?
It was a couple months. I want to say maybe 2 or 3. So, yeah, it might have been a little longer than that.
Did you offer more than it was listed for, and then they still were netting the same, or like how did it make sense for the seller? Because a lot of people are like, why would a seller pay why would they be incentivized to pay money to you?
I did offer a bit more than what they were asking, and I think that's where that came into effect.
Yep.
I also know that the seller was pretty eager to let it go. They were just ready to be done, and I think they moved to like Maine. Like they straight up just left.
Okay.
Yeah, so kind of had those cards dealt to start. Like, okay, this is kind of in my favor, and then went up a little further than I wanted to, but after some deliberation, we were good.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Yeah. That's one thing that is under utilized or not understood as much. Like real estate agents obviously know this strategy to use, but buyers a lot of times don't realize, like, if you don't have the cash saved quite enough,
Right.
and the seller is, like you said, motivated, it's been on the market for a while, or they're just motivated to get out and sell it, and you can be pre-approved, you can be approved for a little bit more than what they're asking,
Right.
meaning they can still net the same amount. So like if they have it listed at a certain price, like they're still getting that price after giving you back money.
Right.
It's usually a win-win. You get the house you want, you get the money you need up front, they get the money they need to go away and have fun, a nice life.
Pretty much. Can you give me
It all works out.
Can you give me 1 second?
Yeah.
All right, give me 1 second.
Puppy. Okay. Well, okay. So questions, if anyone has questions, of course, continue to put them in the comments for Landon, for myself. We talked about a lot of good things. Seller credit or seller assist, getting money back for your closing costs. It's a huge deal. If you don't quite have all the money saved up, but you have the steady job, like Landon's saying, got the new job and had a steady income that was going to be continuing. So he knew he could get a mortgage for this monthly payment, but didn't quite have the cash saved. You're ready to you're able to buy the house before having the money saved by getting the seller credit. I love that.
We're back.
Back in action. Okay, cool. So last question here.
Sure.
Well, two questions. What are your plans for the next 5 years or few years, 3-5 years?
Okay. For the 5-year plan, ideally would like to get out of the townhome and would like to buy a small rancher with some land. I don't know if it's going to happen, but that's the goal. The market just is insane at the moment. So at the current moment, I don't have any plans to go anywhere, but ideally, probably within the next 5-10 years, I would like to just have a little more space, have a yard for the dog,
Yeah.
the whole thing. So
Nice.
that's kind of the goal for the next 5 to 10.
Okay, awesome. And why is home ownership important to you?
I think that's a really good question. There's a lot of different things that are important. I think number one, having a place to come home to every day that you can call your own and that you can be proud of and make your own stylistic choices, whatever the case may be, and a place that feels excuse me, that feels comfortable and safe for you. To me, that's the biggest part. The money aside and the things that go into homeownership, like that's number one for me. Being comfortable, feeling safe, and feeling like this is my place. For example, the wall that's behind me was not here when I moved in. So
And that's the coolest thing. I complimented that when we first got on. I'm like, whoa,
yeah,
nice spot there.
it's just all it is like 2x4 plywood just all thrown together, nailed and glued to the wall. But this whole wall was floor to ceiling mirrors, and this is my dining room, so I'm like, I don't need to watch myself eat. So yeah, so we did away with all that.
Love it. See, that's exactly it. You can feel secure, you're stable, you're not
Yep.
having some other human being control what your monthly payment is every month. It's never going up.
Right,
If anything,
flock.
it's going down.
Yep.
And you can make those choices. Yeah, it's something so freeing to just be like, wow, this is mine. This is my little piece of the world.
And you're now investing in yourself and in something that you can be proud of, and you're building your credit. So it's one of those things. We're maintaining your credit, whatever whatever position you're in at that moment in life. It's a constant. Okay, you go to buy a new car. Okay, you got a monthly mortgage of this. You pay off your credit cards in this X amount of time. So I really think that there's so many more advantages to home ownership from a financial standpoint and from just a personal standpoint. I mean, same thing. To give you the full example, the apartment I had in King of Prussia was 500 square feet. My town is 1,400, and I'm paying. Yeah, like it was a no-brainer. I'm like, okay, well, I'm literally saving money for something that's twice the size of this apartment.
Yes. So, upgrading your life, upgrading your quality of life, upgrading your space, upgrading your wealth, like 40 times greater is what homeowners are compared to renters.
Yep.
Every single month that you're making that payment, like not only are you securing your lifestyle, like you described, securing the place to live, a roof over your head, but you're also securing growth for your own net worth.
And I think I still have friends that, they still rent, and they're like, like they complain about it all the time. Like, oh, my rent's ridiculous. Da, 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 da. And I'm kind of a jerk sometimes when they do it, because I'm just like, how much you paying a month? And they're like, well, blah. And I'm like, how many square feet? And they're like, they say, and I'm like,
Yeah, you're like, don't have that problem.
Yeah, that sucks. You should really think about homeownership. And then I look at the market, I'm like,
I know. There's never a good time.
no.
That's
That I don't want that to sway people from not looking into it and doing their research. I didn't think I was ready in 2019. I really didn't. I thought going into it, I was like, this is never going to happen. Like this is absurd. There's no way I'm making these payments, and I have more money now than I did when I was renting. So
let that be the perfect ending for everyone to hear.
Yeah.
Anyone can do it. It is.
Yep.
It is possible. It is truly possible.
And it is going to be scary. I'm not going to lie.
Yes. Overwhelming, scary, huge decision.
Yep.
But you're like a new person coming out of it. Like anything you go through in life, it's like you're a new person. You have new knowledge, and the best part is you give that back to people, whether it's your friends, family. Like you give back some of that knowledge and encouragement, and that's very powerful and impactful.
Yes.
I love it. Awesome. Well, thank you, Landon, so much for taking the time to do this. And
for having me.
People can find you on Instagram.
Ask
questions in the comments or DM.
Yep. At DJLJ13 on Instagram, and then just type in my name on Facebook and I'll be right there.
Perfect. Yeah, we are streaming this live on Facebook as well. So if they're seeing this on Facebook, they can,
Okay. Maybe I'll comment.
Yeah, exactly. Comment, and you'll be tagged. So.
Okay, cool.
All good. All right. Well, have a great night, everyone. And